Dude, I had like $1 billion idea. I had $1 billion idea, okay? They make seedless mandarin oranges. You know how they make seedless mandarin oranges? This has solved a big problem in the mandarin orange world because you bite into one of those little orange sections and then you get a completely disgusting bitter little flavor bomb in the middle of it. Listen, it's not the biggest problem in the world, but it is annoying. So they invented seedless mandarin oranges. Now, what's the biggest problem with the mandarin orange? The price? No, not really. You get like 30 mandarin oranges for $4 or something. It's outrageous. They're so cheap. Is it the flavor? No, they're delicious. The problem is the peel. Now they peel much more easily than a regular orange, but you still get that orange pith under your thumbnail. Your hands smell like orange all day, which is not necessarily a problem. It's a very pleasant smell, but I'd rather they smell like, soap or like neutral. They need to start making peelless, seedless, peelless mandarin oranges. Oh, man. Pre-peeled mandarin oranges. Let me guess, Peloton music wasn't so good today? That's like saying, let me guess, the speed of acceleration due to gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared. It's never good. There's like 4 Peloton rides out of 303 that I've taken where I've been like, that was a good playlist. Dennis Morton has a 30-minute Rush ride. He has a 45-minute Beatles ride. Then there is a Sam Yo 30-minute grunge ride where 70% of the playlist is good, and maybe there's one more. Maybe there's an Emma Lovewell 90-minute ride. And okay, you know what? Let's make it 5 because Ali Love has a 30-minute Alanis Morissette ride. That's all from Jagged Little Pill. That's true. There is the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month ride with Japanese breakfast, Mitski. And then the one that goes, how far down does your indigo go? Gonna some and moon and top of you. I don't remember who sings that. Oh yeah, and Rena. That's true. I forgot. It's a good playlist. And of course the 15-minute T-Pain playlist. Fell in love with the stripper. She's rocking, she's rolling, she's bowling. I'm rocking that goo at a boo-boo. Theodore Painwell. Quite. Hey, Anel, did you know that all bananas are genetic clones of one another, and if a blight was to strike them, they would probably be wiped out as a species? Honestly, doesn't bother me that much. No big loss. I like the convenience of a banana, but if all grocery stores had bananas ripped from their stock and then never came back, I don't know if I would. It would probably take me 2 years to notice. Where are you going to get your potassium? I don't know, like in ambient amounts from every food that I eat. How come you went from getting a degree in biology to being an English teacher in South Korea? No passion for biology after 4 years of study combined with no prospects? Combined with stop me if you've heard this one before. No offense, if anybody's getting a degree in biology right now, a bachelor's degree. A bachelor's degree in biology doesn't qualify you for anything except like clerical white-collar office work. If you want to work as a scientist, you pretty much need to get your master's or beyond. The 4-year degree in biology is essentially like getting like your elementary school diploma, but on a collegiate level. It's more difficult, don't get me wrong, but it really opens up like very, very limited prospects for you. I'm sorry to say. So I think it's, if you want to work in academia or you want to work as a laboratory tech or something like that, you have to go through it in order to get beyond it. But after finishing 4 years of biology, I was like, I don't want to do this shit for the rest of my life. So instead, I was like, hey, I'm 21 years old or something like that. Let's just go fart around in South Korea for a year. And here we are. 12 years later, 13 years later. You regret not taking computer science? Actually, yeah, a little bit. And I don't, listen, I'm incapable of taking any responsibility for myself. But the culture, at least where I grew up and when I grew up, was essentially that you had to be like engineering pilled to be good at computer science. I always thought I was not a programmer guy because as a teenager, I was like, I didn't know how to computer program, and only turbo nerds took the computer science classes in my high school. If you were book smart, you didn't do computer stuff. If your dad worked for like the university in the computer department, you took computer science classes. So I always thought like you had to be a super engineering minded individual. And then when I felt betrayed when I actually learned coding as an adult, and I was like, they should have, I mean, admittedly, I was in elementary school in the 90s, but like, they should have been introducing this stuff to kids in the 90s, because I took to it really easily, actually. Not to say I'm the best in the world. I'm just like, as soon as class 1, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then class 2, I was like, wait a minute, this fits perfectly into my brain. It turns out I was a turbo nerd all along. What, like it's hard? You got into MIT? What, like that's Legally Blonde? Immutably Blonde, starring Reese Witherspoon's daughter. You got into Caltech Comp Sci? What, like it's hard? Reese Witherspoon's daughter gets broken up with by somebody that's going to Caltech Computer Science, and then uses that breakup energy to solve the classic problem of P equals NP. And then in the sequel, we see the catastrophic implications of online network security as a result of the fundamental degradation of one of the most fundamental principles of computer science. How was the Peloton ride? Oh, thank you for asking. Finally, it was another good one. I'm kind of honestly, I'm getting I'm spinning up for Dick Skin December. You know, it's still like 6 weeks away, but you gotta get your head in the right place early. You gotta build a good foundation. Yesterday, 381 kilojoules, 30 minutes. It's an average of like, I don't know, 212 watts or something like that. Today, 386 kilojoules in 30 minutes. Fundamentally, probably almost exactly the same amount of wattage. But, you know, we went a little deeper with it today. I bet, honestly, the legs have been feeling good. The hills have been heavy. The feet have been fast. I still have never broken 400, but I'm scratching that like 380, 390 every single day. It's just a matter of time, man. Doing hour-long rides yet? I've been doing 45-minute rides on the weekends when I have more time in the morning. I need to do Power Zone, but honestly, like the thing stopping me from doing Power Zone is that the FTP test sounds like miserable. I know it's only like 20 minutes, but 20 minutes of like all-out like 100% effort sounds miserable. But then after that, you get to do Power Zone rides, which is it's like you spend 20 minutes, but then you get an extra little bar under your output, right? That might be worth it. Unfortunately, then that means once I do it, I have to start taking Matt Wilper's rides, and he's very good at teaching form and efficiency, but very bad at forming a cohesive playlist of songs that aren't fucking garbage. No offense, Matt, if you're watching, no offense, okay? But we can't go like from Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody to Billy Ray Cyrus' Achy Breaky Heart to the Chicken of the Sea jingle, Price is Right theme song, Kenny Chesney, Whiskey for My Men, Beer for My Horses. Like can we form a coherent playlist here? Something that flows naturally? Like, help me. I used to stay on the stair climber until it shut itself off at 99.59. That's probably a safety function, right? I used to live in an apartment where there was an apartment gym. The gym used to have a pool in it. Then when new people bought the building, they plastered over the pool. They put like, you know, plywood on top of the pool, and then like floor joists and stuff. They built like a stable floor on top of the pool. And then they put all of their cardio equipment on top of the pool, okay? It's not a problem. It would seem safe. Nobody ever fell in or anything like that. But what would happen is, like, while you were running on the treadmill, I think it would, you're creating these vibrations. The vibrations would then go into the cavernous pool underneath the floor, multiply by the other vibrations you're sending down there, like rattle off the edges of this pool, and then like reflect back up through the treadmill. Every once in a while, you would just hit like a resonance, and the treadmill would shut off. I don't think it was due to like electrical interference or something, but just like it just like hit you with a concussive blast that would make the treadmill lose all power. Very frustrating. You're finally getting that runner's high, and then because when a treadmill loses power instantly, that's very annoying. Because you're like in the middle of the treadmill, and then a millisecond later, your torso's colliding with the control panel. Anyway, I've said this before. If you got jacked using a stationary bicycle before they had electricity, they should study your brain. Medical scientists should study your brain to learn about the science of motivation. Because if you were a professional athlete and you were just using one of those fucking, like a bike with a sandpaper conveyor belt and then like a little crank on the handle that you were just like, I don't feel like my legs are working hard enough. Yeah, that feels about right. And then, you don't even have like a TV. You're just looking out the window. That's built different, man. If you trained for competitive bicycle races on an analog stationary bicycle in like the 1970s and the 1980s, they need to study your brain. I lost 120 pounds that way. That's crazy. You should be on every self-help podcast on the whole circuit. I honestly think if I found myself in a situation like that, I would be like, I would do it one day and then I'd be like, yeah, that wasn't that bad, I'll do it tomorrow, and I would never sit on the saddle ever again. I mean, if I stay in a hotel, I always check out the gym. And then if if the hotel exercise equipment is not the Peloton bikes, if they're Nordic tracks, I'm like, I could just take a week off, I guess. I don't know what to... I can't deal with the LED pips anymore. I need a crank wheel and a digital display and stuff. Like, I have no self-control. My motivation is zero. I need to stick with the ecosystem that I'm aware of. It's like switching from like an Android to an iPhone. You're like, what the heck is command click? I don't know how to do this. I'm not saying that Austin Powers 1 is the best comedy ever made. It's not even the best comedy of the 90s. It's probably not even the best comedy of 1997. But I was thinking about how so many of the quotes live in my head completely rent-free. Like, I was thinking last night, I put the baby to sleep. Half an hour later, she woke up and she was crying. I checked out her room. She'd thrown up a little marinara sauce on her sleep sack and on her mattress cover, so I had to strip the whole mattress down, change the sleep sack. I woke up Cate, where's the new mattress cover? She's like, the mattress cover was in the washing machine, so we had to get like a swaddling blanket from when she was a newborn, and then we had to like make it like a makeshift mattress. Anyway, long story short, we got her back in the crib, and then she was laying down, and I kept trying, like, she'd fall asleep, and I would try to like get my hand out of her hand so I could escape and go to sleep myself, because I don't want to sleep on the floor. And she would always like just give me the death grip even when she's asleep. It was crazy. And I kept thinking, Austin needs his hand back. You know, when he's getting a call from Basil Exposition to go visit a lot of vagina after his night with Vanessa, and the phone goes and then so that's one Austin Powers thing that lives in my head rent-free. Whenever you take a long pee, that's like Austin Powers when he's woken up from the unfreezing process. Whenever you're trying to parallel park but you can't get it quite right, that's Austin Powersing, like when he was in the golf cart and he can't seem to do the three-point turn. There's so much stuff from that movie that like has seeped deep into the cultural foundation. And that's only like 3 things I'm thinking of, right? Like $1 million. There's so many. Anyway, we're doing React Court. Sorry. I just thought it would be funny to start by talking about Austin Powers because I was thinking about it. It's a Germa bit. Excuse me, Germa gets to most of his bits before me, okay? However, you can go back, Dark Souls 2, I'm trying to fight the Old Iron King. The run-up is the biggest nightmare of all time. I'm playing the Quincy Jones Bossa Nova Thrill or whatever the theme song's called. That's from like 2018, okay? That one, the Austin Powers infatuation is mine, please. Soul Bossa Nova, that's what it's called. It's probably this one, if I had to guess. That looks right. Am I the asshole for telling my husband to get over himself when he started berating me for not picking up his brother's son from school? So first off, why are you putting on airs is the first thing that I say here. Your husband's brother's son is your nephew. Why are you trying to make it seem like you're not related to this person? Like, whenever I talk about my nieces, I don't say my wife's sister's kids. They're my nieces. It's like you're trying to trick people into thinking that, like, you don't have a relationship with this kid, but you do. You're their aunt, or their aunt, as I like to say. And then I got overcorrected by Korean children when I was teaching ESL, so now I'm self-conscious about saying aunt, so I say aunt, and then people are like, why are you trying to be British? And I'm like, I'm not. The kids I taught in South Korea had an Australian teacher, and now for the rest of my life I gotta say aunt, because I'm sick of getting corrected by 9-year-olds. Anyway, he told me that his nephew would be staying with us till his dad completes his chemo treatment. I agreed, although he did not consult me about it at first, but I told him that he'll be his responsibility, not mine. Sanest spouse on earth? Are you crazy? Talk about like main character syndrome. There's a 12-year-old kid who is, again, your nephew dealing with, a serious illness for his father, and you're like, okay, fine, we can get a kid, but it'll be your responsibility. You're gonna have to walk it. You're gonna have to clean its poop up. You're gonna have to take it to the kid vet or whatever they're called. Like, this is crazy. The other day, he called me in the afternoon saying he was stuck in a 2-hour meeting and asked if I could go pick up his nephew. His nephew? That's your nephew, lady! What are you why are you writing it like this? Do you think we're stupid? Like, we could read between the lines. His nephew is your nephew. Is our nephew. I suggested he try to get off work or call some family member to go pick him up. Some family member, like maybe like his spouse, like the person who's supposed to be on his team in all but the most extreme issues possible. He tried to argue, but I hung up. Okay, so it seems like an appropriate and adult response to it. He yelled at me saying my lunch with my mom could have fucking waited. Here's the thing. I was on her husband's side for a while. I thought his wife was acting a little selfish, a little juvenile. But then apparently he said the F word, and it's not even her nephew anyway. So now it's a toss-up. I mean, sure, this is a serious issue. I understand it's a serious adult issue with adult consequences. That's no reason to use a word as loaded as the F word. I don't even want to say it myself personally. Like, that word, it carries a lot of power. I would only use that in serious situations, like maybe like a stand-up comedy routine, or when my favorite NHL team has set a new NHL record by blowing a multiple goal lead in 4 consecutive games to start the season. I said that wasn't true and told him to get over himself and stop acting like he's the victim when he put himself in this situation knowing he wouldn't commit. He wouldn't commit. He texted me some choice words. That's when I turned my phone off. I can't help but notice every single situation when you start to have an argument, you just disconnect from it completely. But maybe that's something you could work on after the issue to begin with. But I said my case. He tried to argue with me, and I just closed my eyes and covered my ears and said, la 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 la, I can't hear you. Okay, I mean, this is a warm-up. You know, this is 20 to 40 resistance, 80 to 100 cadence. Like, this is a gimme. Obviously, you're the asshole. I'm kid-pilled. I have a child myself. So sometimes I get accused of being a little bit biased here. But the beauty of family is that you have support. You have stability. You've always got people around. You help them, they help you, you know? And then 2-3 times a year you get together. You have a nice meal of either ham or turkey together. You go out to a restaurant, you argue with the other family about who's going to pay the bill. It starts an arms race. They grab the bill out of your hands when you're about to pay for it. Next time you go out, you say, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Instead, you go to the front counter and say, hey, I want to pay for table 7 over there. When you get back, they're like, thanks for paying. Next time, as soon as you sit down, they're like, just so you know, this gentleman already called the restaurant and said he's paying for everything. I don't know what happens after that. I'm currently living it. You might have to purchase the restaurant after that in order to ensure that they can't steal the bill from you. It never ends, but regardless, that's the beauty of family. And then the penalty is that you also have to, you know, like John Lennon said, in the end, the love you make is equal to the love you take. So or vice versa. So you've got to be there when members of your family, even if, you know, they haven't scratched your back recently, need help. Like, for example, when a 12-year-old child needs some support because his dad is going through an unfortunate illness, you know? So unfortunately, just the fact that you don't feel like taking care of your nephew is not really like a good reason to be extremely derelict in your duties to begin with. And then on top of that, you don't even have to be like the aunt of the century in this situation. You just have to be like, sorry, mom, Lunch is, I got to cut lunch a little early today because I got to go pick up my nephew from school instead of letting him sit there like in tears for 2 hours or something, or causing my husband to get reprimanded at his job. Like, you really just need to just drive your car to the school and pick them up, and then you wouldn't have a problem. And you can like be a little upset. You can be like, oh, I had this lunch planned with my mom for a while. Sometimes being an adult is being like, hey, I'm going to feel like a bad emotion from doing this thing, but it's the right thing to do. Like, for example, when I spent an hour and a half putting the baby to sleep last night, and then I was like, oh, finally, I'm going to like do some YouTube work. And 20 minutes later, I heard her crying. I wasn't like, oh, well, I already spent 90 minutes trying to put her to sleep. Like, I'm just going to let her go. Even like I've got a good reason. I got stuff to do. Hey, baby, I've got my own work to do. Maybe you can handle your own stuff for now. I just went up and, you know, I dealt with it because that's kind of what you sign up for. Yeah, my wife's daughter's crying again. I'll +2 you on that one. Excuse me, Cate, your baby is crying. Anyway, I gotta make some toast, but you know, I understand that's my kid and this is only her nephew, but still, it's just an analogy. As an aunt or an uncle, you don't have the same responsibility that like the parents have, but you do kind of, whether you signed up for it or not, there is kind of like an unspoken like eye contact that's like, if we fucking go down in a plane crash, you got these two rugrats, right? If we go down, if we get in like some horrific accident or something like that, you got us covered. And you're like, yeah, but please like put your seatbelts on because I don't want to. I'd rather not. Yeah, if we get gunned down by Joe Chill after the opera, you got this kid, right? User received just a staggering amount of Reddit awards for this post. I suggested he call some family members to go pick him up. That's exactly what he did. His wife, who should be a partner in the relationship. You're displaying zero empathy to a family suffering through the effects of cancer. This is true. You better hope you never get cancer because I'm not sure you'll have a support system. Okay, you went for the throat. That's one of many reasons I think that you should hope that you don't get a bad disease. It's just, I mean, you know what? Go in. I'm not sure that I like this OP. I'm going to give you my license to make glib personal attacks, okay? Just kidding. In Minecraft. Everybody sucks here. Your husband should not have sprung an entire child on you without consultation. Listen, it's not like he picked up a dog from the pet store, right? Like this isn't like he had a lifelong dream of always wanting a nephew. You can't King Solomon this, you know? This is like it came out of nowhere. He can't say no. Like what is his brother? Put yourself in the husband's shoes, right? Your brother gets cancer and is like, can you take after my kid? And you're like, no. I don't say this very much in React court. You know, usually I come at this from the lens of like you and your spouse are 100% in 99.99% of situations, you got to be on the same team. You know, even within reason, you're unified against the world, you're unified against your HOA together, you're unified sometimes against each other's families together. You build that wall around yourselves. You try to, you know, live copacetically with everybody, but at the end of the day, you're like, we got each other, right? This is like the only situation that we've had so far where I'm like, this is not the case. I feel like if your brother gets cancer and is like, please take care of my child for us, and then your spouse says no, then that's a situation where like you're like, well, I gotta like leave you then. This is like one order of magnitude more important than the one-on-one relationship with the spouse. So I feel like consultation is good, but she literally, if she says no, it's an insane deal breaker. He should have asked, but it's a temporary arrangement during an illness. There's an order of magnitude difference in the assholery here. Doing an asshole thing with good intentions is still doing an asshole thing. And bringing a child into the home for whatever reason without any notice to your partner is an asshole move. Sorry that cancer exists. Talk about dealing in absolutes. My spouse got into a car accident and died. I needed that car to get to brunch tomorrow. Now I've got to take an Uber. Well, everybody sucks here. You suck here because you don't have any empathy for your spouse or the person that your spouse hit with their car. On the other hand, your spouse really left you out to dry by getting into a lethal car accident and stranding you without a vehicle. So I would say this is a 50-50 situation. I would say everybody sucks here. If he was going to get into an accident, he should have gotten into an accident on his bicycle or maybe like in a taxi or something like that. He shouldn't have taken the only vehicle that your household had available and then had the audacity to crash it. This everybody sucks here. This, all caps. Me when I'm agreeing with the worst take I've seen in weeks. This, so much this. Everybody sucks here. OP could have more empathy for the child, but it's a dick move to spring an entire child on your spouse without consulting them at all beforehand and giving them no say, and then berating them and calling them names when they don't show the bare minimum amount of humanity to a child that is part of their family. Literally, all they had to do was pick them up from school and cut their lunch a little short. Recognize that they could even go through like the McDonald's drive-thru on the way home or something like that. I can understand why OP is pissed. All right, you guys sound perfect for each other. Why don't you get married and live in the same house and then just look at your phones all the time and never have a conversation? Okay. Am I the asshole for making my younger sisters fly home early after they followed my husband? I don't understand it's kind of like a title that I don't fully understand the implications of. They came to visit my husband and I on what was supposed to be a 5-week trip. Okay, congratulations, by the way. You're the asshole. What's your job? What's your job title? A 5-week vacation? People these days lucky enough to get a 3-hour tour. A 3-hour tour. You're getting a 5-week vacation? Oh wait, they're European. Okay, well thank you for your service. Never mind. Congratulations. Next, you're going to tell me you get more than 2 weeks for maternity leave, too. The reason my husband was so angry is because the client was the one who noticed them taking pictures of them, and when he confronted them, they were rude to her and to him. Am I the asshole? Okay, so your sisters are 15 and 17 years old. They thought they were in a cheeky little, like an Olsen twins movie. They were like, hey, they thought maybe your husband works for the CIA or something like that. They were going to go, they thought that maybe he's going to meet someone and he's going to cheat on you. But actually, if they spy on him, they realize, oh my God, he's actually meeting with like a foreign dignitary and something bad's going to happen. And then they got to figure out how to tell the news, but no one will believe them because they're 15 and 17 years old. And then they were just having a little adventure, okay? I don't know. Am I the asshole for thinking this one's just not that interesting? The actual meat and potatoes of this is who cares that a 15 and 17-year-old were spying on your husband eating dinner? The actual asshole move is that you not only said you guys have to leave, but you put them on the first flight back, even though it was a red eye, instead of just allowing them to sleep and then leave in the morning. Oh, okay. So it's like the kids' summer vacation trip, and listen, I don't know. Everybody sucks here just because I can't read. That's my take on it. I forgot how to read. As a result, I cannot appropriately interpret this. I declare a React Court mistrial, and why don't you rewrite your post and we'll get another judge on this one and we'll figure it out, okay? How about that? Because I don't think I must recuse myself, okay? Am I the asshole for not letting my daughter buy clothes? Listen, you got to learn how to write a title. This is one of the most insane titles I've ever heard in my entire life. Let's see what's going on here. My wife and I have 4 kids, 14F and 14M, 12 male and 11F. Okay, so here's the thing. Some people out there are just built different. You had your first kids at age 23. They were twins. About a year later, you said, yeah, I'll re-up on that. Are you crazy? What's wrong with you? You didn't want to just get a couple extra years to really get a handle on it, on things? You were roughly 12 months after having twins. You're yeah, I could, you know what? I'll buy into this. I'll re-up. Also, you're going to have 2 18-year-old twins, a 16-year-old boy, and a 15-year-old girl in your house, you're asking for like the worst middle-aged of like your entire life. But I guess like then it's over in 4 years or something. Also, yeah, all four of your kids possibly going to be in college at the same time. That's a long. Listen, I guess I'm saying you're not the asshole because I think you just got to treat yourself. Anyway, sorry, unlocked by the first sentence. You still haven't read the post? Yeah, I haven't even gotten to the first comma yet. A few weeks ago, I was at home with our 12-year-old because he was, how do you have time to write this post? Shouldn't your ass be like ground down in the bone meal right now? How do you have time to write 8-paragraph am I the asshole threads on Reddit? Like, it doesn't seem, because it's fake. But if it's not, I was at home with our 12-year-old because he was sick with a stomach bug. Okay, again, I'm getting stun-locked again. Do you have to? I think if your kid is 12, they can stay home from school by themselves. You don't need to be home just because your kid is home. I mean, when they're like 5, for sure. When they're 12, come on. You just have them lock the door. Don't open it for anybody. And then like, here's like, there's bread and meat in the fridge. You can make yourself a sandwich. You can't be, with 4 kids, I'm sorry, you can't be taking time off from work every time one of them gets a stomach bug. It's too, you gave up that right when you had 4 kids in 3 years. They're puking all over? They're 12. Like, I wouldn't let them drive a car, but I trust them to go to the bathroom and throw up in the toilet. I didn't even grow up old school. I grew up like insanely sheltered. I could still, if I was sick in the like 6th or 7th grade, my parents would just be like, okay, don't do anything I wouldn't do. I'm getting so many -2s. Where did we go? When did we get so soft as a society? It's driving me crazy. They're 12, man. 100 years, well, no. Okay, 1,000 years ago, they could be elected like the consul of Rome, and now we can't even trust them to throw up in the toilet? There's nobody out see how messed up this is? While I was making him soup, you're telling me this 12-year-old kid can't use a can opener? I'm not asking him to, chiffonade his own bay leaf and make a mirepoix or something like that. Like, it's just, oh, sorry. I just think what do you get when you cross a society that doesn't care about people with a... I got a call from my twins' high school telling me they wanted to speak with me and that my daughter had received 3 days of in-school suspension for a bullying incident. Because of my son's sickness, I spoke through them via the phone. You spoke through them? Like the way that the Lord speaks through a minister? Like the way a poltergeist speaks through your television set? Last year, she also got in trouble for bullying someone because of clothing. She's also gotten in trouble for racism at school? What the hell, man? That's like, all the crop top stuff is pretty bad, but like you were really burying the lead on this one. When my wife got home, we discussed the punishment and agreed on her not buying new clothes for a while. She has plenty of good clothes already. The worst punishment of all time? You were racist at school, we're not going to let you buy new clothes? This week was the town's annual fair. Listen, it's called an annual fair, okay? It only comes once a year. Can we not just act like a happy family for the sacred event that is my brother's town's annual fair? If we can't hold it together for the annual fair, I don't think this family's got a chance, man. It's a sacred day of observance. Our oldest daughter went to the close. I stopped her, told her the rule was still in place. I said, hey, listen, don't you remember how you were so racist? I won't let you buy clothes. That being said, if you want books, a video game, candy, or etc., that's totally fine. That's completely acceptable. But clothes are the one thing you cannot get. My daughter didn't buy anything, and my wife thinks I was too tough on her. Are you crazy? I love this is framed as if like, I'm kind of a hard ass. I don't let anything go in my house. We have standards of decorum that we have to live with. Am I the asshole for being a Marine Corps sergeant of a dad? I guarantee all the comments are like, you're too soft. You're not even close to being tough enough. Edit day 2, thank you so much for the awards. I accept it with humility, for I am but a humble sheep. Ladies and gentlemen, we struck gold. Everybody sucks here except your other kids that we know of. Your response to your daughter's continued behavior as a bully is to, you can't use italics 2 times in the same paragraph because the second italics undermines the strength that was implied with the first italics, okay? You can't use italics 2 times in the same paragraph. They have to be used sparingly. Your response to your daughter's continued behavior as a bully are to simply restrict her from buying clothes so candy and toys are okay. How is that a punishment? And your wife can't even manage that? No wonder your daughter has a problem. You guys need to implement consistent and actual consequences for her actions and teach her why bullying is unacceptable. She's more than old enough to learn compassion. Also, living in a predominantly white neighborhood does not excuse you for failing to teach her to be aware of other races and cultures. You only have a few years left with her. Get on it. Okay? This is all pretty reasonable. Perhaps it's time to delve further into why your daughter has such an easy time getting into the white supremacist rhetoric and why you and your wife have such a cavalier response to it. Start these conversations at home. Sane Redditor. I can't believe it. I'm sure with the thanks for the gold kind stranger primed me to believe that we were going to read something insane, but instead they are but a humble sheep. Everybody sucks here. Okay, here we go. I commend you for sticking to your guns. The bare minimum level of commendation. However, that is the weakest punishment I've ever heard of. No, he could have had a worse punishment. If his daughter was being racist, he could have said, hey, no racism for 1 week. I think that would have taught her the wrong lesson. Instead, he said no buying new clothes for an indeterminate length of time. If she's like really into fashion, that could be very, very slightly like inconvenient. Not the asshole. Wait, hold on. This is above Reddit's pay grade. That's where you're wrong. This is where I get all of my hot takes on parenting, foreign policy, the economy. This is pretty much a one-stop shop for things that are above the internet's pay grade. And I'm glad it's not changing anytime soon. I don't think I'm a harsh parent. And honestly, at the same time, like I haven't had like any serious issues because my daughter's like 2 years old. But even then, sometimes like I give my kid a chocolate egg and then she's like, I want another chocolate egg. And I'm like, are you crazy? I'm not going to be the guy who's going to give you 2 chocolate eggs. I'm not that guy, pal. I'm not that guy. You get 1 chocolate egg. She gets 1 chocolate egg isn't good for her. I compromised by giving her 1 chocolate egg. You're the asshole? I accept that. I don't want her to be 20 years old and she has like a rough day at work. She comes home and slams like a 6-pack of Kinder Surprises, okay? I got to build that scaffolding for her to be able to fill in the rest of her life with as many good and healthy habits as possible as an adult. Am I the asshole for telling my friends, am I the asshole for telling my F-26 friend F-26 that her, am I being awakened? Am I a sleeper agent? Is this the Manchurian Candidate? She lived in another city and we barely ever saw each other and she was always too busy for long phone calls. So we only talked briefly now and then. 26-year-olds these days are having long phone calls? This sounds like fan fiction written by a Gen Xer. I'm a millennial. We as our generation hates the phone. I would have thought maybe like FaceTime or something like that. Group chat. Diana doesn't show up in the group chat that often. People still do long phone calls all the time. All right. I mean, I'm asking out of a sense of genuine ignorance, quite frankly, but so we only talk briefly now and then. During the time she spent on her degrees, I managed to get married and start my own family. It's not that hard. Like people say congratulations, but it is not like a feat. You could do it in like a month if you were crazy. You don't like, I don't know if you want a pat on the back or whatever, but it's just the way that you phrased it. You've invited the comparison that it's like, while she was just farting around getting her master's degree, I was actually building a life for myself. And that's not a dilemma you want to invite. If you can't find a job locally as a foreign language translator, then your degree is a waste of time if you have to move to another country. She said it's an amazing opportunity that she couldn't get anywhere around here. Apparently the job is related to the EU Parliament or whatever. I admit it, I lost her with all the abbreviations she was using. It's gotta be Reddit bait, man. It's gotta be bait. And here's where she was rude. She said that if she was to be as unhappy as I was, she didn't want a families. She threw in my face that apparently I'm always complaining about my husband, but I'm criticizing her. He's the best husband in the world. I told her she's ridiculous and mean, and she called me an asshole, paid, and left the restaurant. I told my friends about this, and they're split in who's the asshole here, so tell me, am I the asshole for telling her the truth? This is an insane post. What kind of person thinks that if you get a degree that forces you to move for your job, that the degree is a waste? The best degrees force you to move. I'm sorry, that's maybe a little judgmental. If you grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and you get like a computer science degree, your ass is out of there. You're going to, you're going to the Bay Area. You're going to Austin, Texas. You're going to Milwaukee or something like that. You're getting out of there. Is all I'm. Some of the best degrees are vessels to get you out of the place in which you started. I just don't understand the idea. Like, why would you work that? I don't know where they live to begin with. I just don't understand the idea that like, oh, you worked too hard to leave. If you were gonna work that hard, you might as well have just stayed. I'm not insulting Dayton, okay? I mean, it's not even the worst city in Ohio. Plus, it's where Guided by Voices is from. I mean, it's no Buffalo, at least. Also, it is pretty stupid. Also, you haven't even talked to this person in years, and then you're like, basically just insulting them. Nobody cares that your husband, does well as a drywall hanging LLC, okay? Like the world needs both kinds of work. Why are you being weird about it, lady? My husband's in the NFL. He doesn't have a degree and he makes $11 million a year. Why don't you just do that? I don't know what you're doing. Because my 40 time is not even close, man. Am I the asshole for waking my husband up? I love the relationship ones. They seem like they have the most to mine. I accidentally left my car keys in my uniform pants at work and left my pants in my locker. I don't wear my uniform home for multiple reasons. I just bring it home to wash. I have too. Why does that it sounds like Tim Robinson wrote that line. I don't wear my uniform home from work for multiple reasons. I have too. So when I got home and I was pretty upset that I'd called 22 times and he hadn't answered, I continued trying to call him the whole way home in the Uber. When I got home, I went inside to the bedroom and woke him up. I was pissed that this had become a serious emergency. I'm pissed that had this been a serious emergency, I wouldn't have been able to get through to him. Hey, it's not a serious emergency, but if it had been, your behavior would not have been acceptable. Also, I know how this sounds, but this sounds like a great reason to do the classic pat all your pockets to make sure you got your keys before you leave the office building. Like, these sound like a lot of problems that you have with your husband that would have been prevented by you not forgetting your car keys. Now, stuff happens. People forget, they make mistakes. They misplace their wallet, they misplace their keys. It happens. But at the same time, your husband didn't do anything. He literally was just at home and then he went to bed. He didn't do anything. My man, he literally just fell asleep and then woke up to you being insanely mad at him and having like 50 missed calls. Talk about a shot of adrenaline to start your day off wrong. Women don't have pockets, NL. She's got a bag or something. Come on, she could look in the bag for the car keys. I mean, even if she doesn't have a bag, it's not her husband is Levi Strauss. Her husband did not invent women's jeans. He's getting all the fire and he had none of the tinder. It doesn't make any sense. Apparently she made it work every other day. So don't give me the pocket excuse. She's 370 consecutive times remembering her keys. Then one time she forgets and she's like, women's jeans are the problem. Just take some personal responsibility. I mean, here's what I think happened, okay? And I do this myself, and I think everybody does. You're mad at yourself. I'm so stupid. Your emotions kick up. You're panicking a little bit. As soon as you start panicking, the adrenaline starts pumping. You're not thinking clearly. Your brain is looking for something else to blame. Oh, why won't Iron Galaxy just release more bots into the hopper so I can actually win a game? Oh, why won't they de-rank me so I can actually have fun playing this game without having to take any personal responsibility for my own actions, right? So I get it. When you're not thinking, being angry, being panicked, being scared it's like being drunk. Your decisions are not rational anymore. You're flooded with neurotransmitters that cause you to behave in irrational ways, okay? And then an hour later, you're like, I'm sorry, I was being very stupid. I was in a heightened state, okay? That being said, I definitely don't think you don't have a leg to stand on if you're like, hey, you didn't react to my fake emergency as if it was a real emergency. Because that makes you sound, that's like a doubling down. It makes you sound like you're being like even crazier. Instead of being like, hey, just so you know, never do that again. Don't put your phone on silent. Make sure like the ringer's on for at least for me. And then he would be like, oh, yeah, sure, my mistake. Instead, you make it sound like you were giving him a completely invalid test that was like, I'm not having an emergency, but it's like a fire drill and you failed, and that's why I'm mad at you. Like, that is, you're approaching the situation in the wrong way. In an actual emergency, you would just call 911 too. You know what? That's the sort of thing that you and I can look at each other and make eye contact and nod, but at the same time, you couldn't bring that up in the argument. It's one of those times where like it's such a silver bullet, you can't use it. You have to hold that in your head as like your trump card in the argument, but then like you can't, it's too powerful to use. It would blow out the other side. It wouldn't be fair. It's true. That's where the camera pans to you and you go, Michael, if it's a real emergency, just call 911. What if 911 was on silent, Jan? What if 911 was on silent? What if it's busy, Jim? You really think I wouldn't push you up against the wall? Like he did nothing. This, if you look at this from her perspective, you hear like the Born Identity music. It's like the tension is amping up. If you look at it from his perspective, he's just like eating dinner, watching TV, doing the dishes, and then like brushing his teeth and going to bed, and then waking up in the middle of a firestorm. Dude's actually just going, he's like a cartoon rabbit going like, hoo, hoo. And then he's waking up to like, yeah, Jesse, how could you do this to me? What happened? What happened? Is everything okay? Your phone was on silent. I left my keys at work and your phone was on silent. Like he's just living his life, man. Say that you've never been able to reach someone in an emergency without saying you've never been able to reach someone in an emergency. You will understand why OP is not the asshole if you have never been through the experience. For me, it was having food poisoning while 6 months pregnant while my husband was off gallivanting on a mountain and didn't leave his route, and having to have the sheriff go look for him in hopes they might find him. Fortunately, he did, and it was a very awkward 30-minute snowmobile ride down the mountain for my husband because the sheriff drove the point home just how much of an idiot he was by not telling him that I was recovering from food poisoning until they got to the parking lot and would be okay. He made sure my husband suffered from the worry. Women go missing at the park and ride locations late at night. For a husband to not be reachable to that extent is beyond ridiculous. What? And that's why you never fall asleep or go on a hike ever. I don't even understand the user received Reddit Galaxy for this post. I don't understand the problem. She had food poisoning while 6 months pregnant, while the husband was on a hike and didn't leave his route. Or did he leave his route and then the sheriff had to go look for him? But why? Why did the sheriff have to go look for him? Was the husband the only person? He had the last supply of antibiotics in his pocket. He's the only person who knows the 12 secret herbs and spices to make ciprofloxacin. I don't understand why specifically she goes on in the... Okay. Ben asked why I was searching for my husband. I was in the ER. They contacted the sheriff's department to look for my husband, not just because I was dealing with food poisoning, but because I also had our 2 young kids with me. As for limited resources, it was a very large county with 2 mountain passes and the largest city in the state. I also knew which pass he and his mountaineering group was on. Since it was June, there were limited places. So much detail. There were limited places that they could be for practicing snow camping techniques. He forgot to leave his itinerary when he left early this morning. In the 15 years since, he's never forgotten to leave his itinerary for either mountaineering or work trips. What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking? Okay, your husband, like, you're 6 months pregnant. Your husband went for a hike. Probably did not 15 years ago. Did not. What did he? This guy didn't do anything wrong either. This is exactly the same post as the original. The guy was probably like, hey, can I go for a hike today? And you were probably like, yeah, sure. And then he went on a hike and like some completely unpredictable shit happened, and now he's the dickhead for some reason because he didn't leave his itinerary. He didn't leave a map with his point-to-point location when he went out with his mountaineering group 15 years ago. If you ever do your hobby when I have a problem, you're gallivanting. If I ever do my hobby and you have a problem, that's self-care. This is just, I don't understand what's going on here. You ever wonder why your taxes are so damn high, but it seems like you don't get anything for them? This insane person is sending the sheriff out to go to find one single dude on top of one of two mountain ranges so that he can provide daycare to two children. Like, he's not gonna cure the food poisoning. I don't understand what the problem is here. 15,000 people read this and said, fuck that dude for hiking. It's true, I know. I don't know. Is this like I don't know if it's like there's a two kinds of people in the world sort of dilemma here. Like, there's some people that are like, unexpected bad shit happens and you go like, fuck the universe. And then there's some people that go, unexpected bad shit happened, and you're like, who could I plausibly blame? If my husband was psychic, this shit would not have happened. So fuck him. Like, this is madness, man. He left her with the two kids. No, he didn't. Okay, because that's not like how reality works. I'm sure that in all likelihood, he didn't wake up early and go like, I'm gonna sneak off on a little hiking trip. I'm gonna go on a quick 15-hour hike without asking my wife. They probably had an arrangement. Hey, I'll take Saturdays, you take Sundays. Are you sure you're good? Are you sure? Are you sure? Okay, love you. Let me know if you need anything. And then he went for a hike. And now, despite doing all the necessary preparatory work, he's getting raked over the coals for it. And she's still holding a grudge 15 years. 15 years down the road. This shit happened in the Bush administration, man. Second term, but still, this shit is older than The Dark Knight. And we're still hearing about it. If they already knew you were going to be okay, why use the resources of the sheriff to bring him back? The sheriff let the husband sweat it out for 30 minutes. Then once the sheriff and husband got to the parking lot, the sheriff told the husband the wife was going to be okay. Let the husband panic for a half hour. 3,000 sociopaths. Hey, your wife is really ill. Here's the town sheriff on a snowmobile all the way up the mountain to come get you. It's an emergency. Is she going to be okay? Why don't you just hop on, shitbag? Bet you're really happy you went gallivanting on the mountain today. You just had to go mountaineering, didn't you? Just had to go mountaineering. Well, do you ever know what happens to kids when they lose their mother? Oh, yeah, she's going to be fine. Anyway, she's in room 36B. Right. Does sending the sheriff out to fetch the husband of a woman who isn't in critical condition sound like a good use of resources? Have you ever truly had food poisoning? It's my time. It's my time. At 6 months pregnant, it's a big deal, and OP was likely in the hospital. The husband needed to be there in case it took a turn for the worse to make medical decisions. Okay, internet, make up your mind. Is food poisoning not serious at all? Or do you need to have 24-hour medical supervision in case we need to figure out if you're going to do a do not resuscitate order? Make up your mind. Because when I'm like, hey, if I didn't get that, I had to fight tooth and nail to get 12 antibiotic capsules. And if I didn't have them, I probably would have been dead by now due to sepsis or something. People are like, yeah, sure. I stubbed my toe once. I know what it's like. Or is it the sort of thing where it's an immediate emergency at all times? I get that she's pregnant. Also, if I had been pregnant, you guys would have more sympathy. It's a bit of a double standard, don't you think? Refusing to elaborate and moving on. I'm just saying, if the roles were reversed, when did society get so soft, man? He just went on a hike. And then the whole town, including his spouse, conspired to make him feel like he was like negligent. He didn't do anything. Unless he gave her the chicken sashimi, I don't understand the problem. And this isn't even the post. I don't even remember the post now. Who's the post? Oh yeah, she forgot her car keys and it's his fault. Okay. I don't get that you're the assholes. Not the asshole. I get what you're saying. My dad went through a very serious emergency a few years ago and I live out of state. She didn't. That didn't happen to her. never. Are you stupid? I know you're like, well, if it did. But it didn't. This is fiction. You're living in a fantasy world. My dad went through a very serious emergency a few years ago, and I live out of state. My mom kept trying to call my sister, who lives 20 minutes from them, but her phone was dead, even though she was at home. So all she was able to get was the daughter a plane ride away who could do very little to help until I flew out. Where does the 911 not exist? What's happening? Is this a crazy world? Like, is this a clown world? What's happening? I like, okay, her phone died. Like, it happens. It doesn't make her a bad person because her phone died. I don't understand, like, why they're raking people over the coals, man. Both of the sisters are the top heart surgeons in the world. It's the only thing that makes sense. Or that you need them both to, like, the only thing that could save him is dropping a nuclear bomb, and they had the only two keys to turn simultaneously to open the nuclear football. Like, I can't even concoct a reasonably realistic scenario in my head where these are problems that, like, genuinely reflect negatively on the person that is supposed to have caused them, but had actually nothing to do with it at all. There are settings on phones for this exact purpose which allow families to get in touch with you in an emergency. And while yours was not a true emergency this time, ... I understand why you're worried about what you would do if you had a true emergency in the future. Okay, I thought it was going to be insane, but actually that's fair. So what you should do in the sober light of morning is recognize, like, hey, I shouldn't have been so mad at you last night about something that literally was not within your control at all. Can you please, for the future, make sure that your phone is not on silent when you go to bed and I'm working? Yes, honey. Sorry, my bad. Are you okay? Can I drive you to work today? Blah, blah, blah. And then problem solved. I don't understand why we're going through all these... we're going through the Socratic method. Here's some shit that happened to me in 1975. Problem that was within my grasp just gets blamed on somebody who had the audacity. He was out gallivanting at the grocery store, buying food for our family. He had the audacity to be trying to parallel park in a spot that was really tight. Anyways, he needs to figure out a better system, especially since it sounds like you work late nights often. You know what I don't hear? What I don't see a single fucking time in this post? You know what I don't see a single fucking time in this post? At the risk of sounding like a bad person? How about, like, you triple check when you leave work to make sure you got your fucking keys on you? I guess the husband's got to do we got to develop a whole new system to make sure your husband never has his phone on silent. But at the same time, mistakes happen. You leave, people forget things all the time. So you shouldn't feel bad about leaving your keys at work. But your husband, who didn't have his phone on 3 volume and instead he had it on a soft surface with vibrate on, like, at least apply it both ways. Like, I want to type a post in here and be like, you ever consider learning the 2-tap method? Where when you're leaving any place or when you're walking around, you just tap one pocket and you're like, wallet, and you tap another pocket and you're like, there's my phone. You tap another pocket and there's your keys. I understand women's pants don't always have big pockets for all that stuff, but you can at least look in your purse, or at least wherever you're keeping your keys, you can have some sort of visual confirmation or tactile confirmation that you got the device that you need in order to get home and get into your house. We need to teach people about the taps, man. The testicles, spectacles, wallet, and watch. They're both assholes, but he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. His phone just happened to be on silent. He was just asleep. By the way, if you reverse the roles of this one, the interpretation is exactly the same. I hope that they would be like, your wife should, have your phone, she should have her phone with the ringer on just in case you have a problem. But now I'm thinking about it a little more, and I'm like, no, I bet they would be like, literally, your wife was just trying to sleep. Man up, idiot. You really woke up your sleeping wife? You woke up your sleeping wife because you forgot your keys? You sound like a selfish asshole. I hope she leaves you and finds somebody that will actually take her seriously. You better check yourself before she leaves someone who will show her the respect she deserves. If anything, he should be mad that she left her keys. Okay, now maybe it's going too far. If this happened to me, and my spouse was mad at me, I would be disproportionately mad at her, because I would be like, that's really irresponsible of you to leave your keys at your office and put yourself in a situation that could be dangerous. Like, I'm not to potentially victim blame. I'm just saying at the same time, like, we gotta both insulate ourselves from this kind of like nightmare in the future. That's why do you see the kind of problems that a 3-tap solves? If you've got one important possession in each pocket and you just go tap, 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 you're good to go. I think my sentence here is just, could she just buy a really small pair of men's jeans to wear to work? So they've got big pockets, and then one pocket has your phone, one pocket has your keys, and one pocket has your wallet. And I also want to say, and I'm sure that men do this too, but I so often see it from women. We got to stop this iPhone in the back pocket thing. You're asking for trouble. I'm not even talking about pickpockets, although it's a juicy target with 75% of your iPhone sticking out of your back pocket. But one day you're going to sit down. You're going to sit down on your iPhone. You're going to crack the screen, okay? And maybe we need to completely revolutionize women's fashion to get deeper front pockets or something like that. But come on. It's just you're setting yourself up for failure when you got a smartphone in your back pocket. That's where your wallet goes, and it just causes gradually a asymmetry in your spine that leads to lifelong back pain, okay? Anyway, why does everybody have a story of somebody else being the asshole for not being a slave to their cell phone? Like, it's driving me crazy. You're the asshole. Okay, yeah, I agree with you, but let's pass. Not the asshole. This is a weird one. I didn't realize so many people would be okay with their spouse being out of reach unless it was something you both knew about ahead of time. Unless you both knew that an unexpected emergency was definitely not going to happen. Are you listening to yourself? Unless you both agreed in advance to not have anything urgent pop up. Redditors be like, imagine sleeping, not me. If I were stranded somewhere and tried to call my partner and they ignored me, I'd be upset too. I'd also point out to them that if I had been calling for an emergency, say I was hospitalized and trying to get a hold of them, they would have missed my call, and that going forward, they need to be responsible. That's an expectation for me, not you. If your spouse didn't know you expected support. Okay, well, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, just so you know, you wouldn't have had to give me 50 missed calls if you didn't forget your keys at work. As long as we're playing the nobody's ever allowed to make a mistake game, whose mistake caused this whole situation in the first place? Just so you know, you wouldn't have had to call me 50 times if you just did the 3-tap and made sure you didn't leave your keys at work. NL, people forget things all the time. It's a human's mistake. And then people forget to leave the ringer on all the time. Why is it that there's a double standard on the ringer, but leaving your keys at home? And also, it's like, how is she able to get into her house without having their keys to begin with? It's like, that's also a bigger problem. That she could have been stranded outside of her house. That's why you gotta check the keys, man. Redditors be like, if I had a spouse and this was an emergency, this would be a deal breaker for me. No assholes here. People here responding, telling OP to call 911 if it was an emergency, don't get the point, because that completely blows out her argument and undermines her position. The point is OP's partner was unable to be contacted. If there had been an emergency, just restating the point again. You're missing the point. The point is that if you believe what she's saying and agree with it, then she's right. He still wouldn't have answered. That is what OP means when they worry about him not responding during an emergency. OP was not saying their partner should act as emergency services. No, but like what they're saying, you're missing the point. They're not saying that like your husband would be the cops and the paramedics and the fire department. They're saying at least you wouldn't like fucking die. You would be able to get some help, and then when your husband woke up, he would be like, holy shit, 60 missed calls. Let's like get ahead of this problem now, even though you got a head start on me. Like, I understand that you're like, I would like to be able to reach my spouse at all times, but at the same time, like, this is about your personal safety if it was an actual emergency. You're right. Police should have driven a snowmobile to his house, let him stew for a little bit. Hey, not so good on the cell phone there, are you, Andy? Well, remember how you used to have a wife? You better hop on the snowmobile. Just kind of putter around for 30 minutes and be like, oh, no, she came home while we were on the ride. She just forgot her car keys and was mad at you. I don't understand the fiction here. On the other side, her husband didn't do it intentionally. There wasn't malice here. Not from his side. Not from his side. You're the asshole. You took one moment where everything was stacked against your husband that he didn't hear his phone go off, ignored his reasonable explanation, and jumped to "you're unreliable in an emergency." That's not a reasonable way to talk through a conflict. So true. So true. After 12 a.m., he wasn't available, mind you. Such a reasonable time of day to not be reachable. LOL. No. If your wife regularly commutes home after midnight, you should absolutely be available in case of emergency. Hell, if you have any family at all, you should absolutely always be available. Okay. He probably agrees, but he happened to put his phone on a soft surface once. Again, it's completely reasonable to leave the thing that allows you to get into your car, in your house, in your locker at work. It's completely unreasonable to have your phone on silent and then fall asleep. I am a human being, by the way. You're the asshole. This was. I can't do. I honestly, I have to move on from this one. Otherwise, we're never going to get to another post. This is insane to me. Again, he should be reachable, but at the same time, like, you made a mistake that revealed his mistake that is not even on the same magnitude as your mistake. It's like if you skipped lunch and didn't tell your husband you skipped lunch. Then he came home from work and you expected him to have brought home takeout without asking him. And then you're blaming him for the fact that you're hungry. You didn't eat lunch. And you didn't text me saying get some quesadillas on your way home. You gotta eat a snack. Is this a Daniel raid? Ricky, don't lose that number. You don't wanna call nobody else. Hey, 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 hey. Send it all in a letter to yourself. Dum chicka dum dum chicka dick dum dum. Ricky, don't lose that number. It's the only. Okay, great song, great band, Steely Dan. What was that squirt noise? Oh, are you jealous, Daniel? This is my Peloton branded water bottle. It has a digitally embossed signature of every single instructor. Let me see. I know Dan's favorite instructor. It's hard to tell. I don't read cursive writing that well. I'm looking. I don't know if you can see this one. That's Sam Yo right there. That's Sam Yo. You can tell because it says SAM Yo. But I gotta be honest, I'm having a hard time. Well, you know what? Here's Ben Aldis. I don't know if you've taken any EDM rides. There's Ben Aldis right there. I'm having a hard time finding Ali Love, and I apologize for that. No, I don't think that. I don't know. Ali Love is goated. Hey, Ali Love. She's got the 30-minute Alanis Morissette ride. That's only songs from Jagged Little Pill. I would definitely. I would recommend that one if you've never taken it, or if you've never taken it twice. With the climb to You Live, You Learn gets me every time. It's chicken soup for the bald millennial soul. Am I the asshole for telling my friend's girlfriend I thought she was a little fat? You're starting in a hole. I gotta see if you can dig yourself out of this one. He said a little, just a little. Now, here's the thing. I strive to be a very candid person. I will not hesitate to speak my truth because I believe it's most, the 21-year-oldest Redditor has just logged on. Lying is immoral, ergo, it's always moral to tell the truth. Okay. I live my life according to a series of principles. I live a principled life, Susie. In my experience, avoiding the truth often leads to confusion and/or pain. Wait till you see the damage that telling the truth can do. I knew if I told her this directly, she'd probably get upset, so I asked her in response, do you want my honest opinion? She said she did, so I gave it. My exact words were, I'd like to preface this by saying that this in no way affects how I view you as a person. I don't think that weight is a good measure of who someone is. That being said, a little bit yes. Ooh, oh, no. Oh, no. That's so much worse. When you ask, do you think I'm fat? And they reply, just so you know, what I'm about to say doesn't mean I think any less of you as a person. You could have just said yes. That wouldn't have been as bad as prefacing it with this bizarre disclaimer. That's madness, man. You want to talk about radical honesty? My God. My God, Niles! Hey, what's the name of that ice cream? But it's like Neapolitan, but it has pistachio in it. What's it called again? Just someone's gonna know this. It's the ice cream they serve at the old spaghetti factory. Spumoni. My God, Niles! You're nuttier than the green part of Spumoni ice cream. Frasier, you're as nutty as the green part of Spumoni ice cream. Don't worry about her, Frasier. This is Daphne. Don't worry about her, Frasier. She's nutty than that green pot of Spumoni ice cream. So I'm trying to, I can get it to work. This is how, Frasier, this is Roz. Come on, Frasier. She's nuttier than the green part of Spumoni ice cream. Obviously, by the way, it does bother him. Like, this is the foundation of being a young man, at least in my experience, having gone through it myself. You're like, I'm a pillar of individualism. I live according to a set of principles that I design, and then immediately after doing it, you feel bad and you run to the internet for validation. And you're just like, hey, anyone else as insane as me? Can anyone else validate my insane behavior and yet still let me feel as if I'm a paragon of individualistic virtue? Like, it's just lie, man. I've gone to other impartial friends to get their opinions, and they've been pretty split, so I'm asking Reddit, am I the asshole? Yes, obviously. Like, I just don't understand why. Why are you trying to, like, what are you trying to do, I guess? If you think that she's a little bit out of shape, she probably thinks she's extremely out of shape. You're not the first person to plant the idea in her head that maybe she's not, in the kind of condition that she wants to be in, okay? So then you didn't just answer her honestly, as if like, oh, nobody else sees, I have unique access to information that nobody else is aware of. You went over the top and said, just so you know, yeah, I think you're fat, but I don't think that makes you like a bad person or anything. She didn't ask, do you think I'm a bad person? She just asked, do you think I'm a little bit fat? And you, like, when you wrote like a end user license agreement about insanity, I just don't understand why you would preface it with that. And it makes the honesty 10 times worse. It's like when you need to feed like a cat a pill. So you wrap it in like meat or like coat it in butter or something like that. And then by the time the cat knows that it's actually a pill, it's already swallowed it. You did that, but you put it like in hot sauce or like, super glue or something like that. Like you took something bad, an uncomfortable truth, and then you rolled it in something even worse and then said, take some of this, Tubby. It's the worst way possible to give someone criticism. Yeah, you just got to filibuster. True. You gotta talk around the question. There's worse ways to answer this, maybe. Like if she said, do you think I'm fat? You could have said something like, who cares about my opinion anyway? You could have said, not really. Like these are all bad answers, but like, I don't understand. Like just nut up and lie a little bit. It keeps the world running, man. Telling the truth in every situation is something you can only get away with when you have no responsibilities. I'm sorry to say. As soon as you got shit to do, you're going to lie just to lubricate the gears of industry. Sorry, I'm late. There was traffic. Okay, maybe there was traffic, but maybe you could have also left like 10 minutes early. Oh, sorry, I didn't see this until just now. No, you saw it, and then you said, I'm going to reply, and then you procrastinated on it, and then you forgot about it, and then you replied 2 days later. Like, it happens all the time. McDonald's Sprite, exactly. Sorry, they're out of Sprite. Out of Sprite. Congratulations. Oh man, they're going off. Congratulations, you're attempting to use a radical honesty ideology to pretend you don't understand subtext or social norms. This isn't new or groundbreaking or insightful, it's just you pretending you don't know what it is to be rude. If you want to call Marta out for seeking reassurance or answers she doesn't actually want to hear, then figure out a way to do that honestly and kindly. But don't act like you didn't perfectly know what you were doing. Didn't perfectly know that you were pulling her up for compliment fishing and develop a lies or pain thing to justify it. Everybody sucks here. What did she do? She didn't, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess in principle, you shouldn't ask questions that you don't want honest answers to. Everybody sucks here because tact is a third option besides lying and telling radical truth. But also, don't ask if you don't want to hear the answer. Also, edit, thanks for all the updoots and my awards. Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies. I love this one. Bad, bad. It's so true. I'm going to put myself in the firing line here and say, as a person who's chubby, my BMI says I'm obese because I'm 4'10 and 9.5 stone. A stone is 16 pounds. Is this correct? And 16 pounds is around 7.5 kilograms. 7.5 times 9.5 times 16.5 divided by 2.5. She's 30 pounds? Look, I don't need to know the numbers here. Me fishing for the numbers is actually more problematic than the original post. Like, I'm gonna, without even seeing this person, I'm gonna be like, let me see if you're big enough for me to take your post seriously. Listen, let's just take them at face value here, okay? And if I ask you a question, I want an answer. I don't really understand the whole thing of fishing for weird compliments with lies type of thing. It's a whole minefield. If I ask my friends if I'm fat and they tell me I'm goddamn well fat and to get my arse on a bloody bike, I don't think it's really fair for you to say you're the asshole when you don't know whether the person is like me and would deride you horribly for lying. We'd take the piss for weeks in my friend group. Most British Redditor found of all time. Or the girl social minefield of prancing around the fucking lavender field, hoping to not step on a mine. I'm not like other girls, okay? I'm a cool girl. Honestly, I'm just like one of the guys. A lot of the other guys, the other guys, they can't really talk about this kind of stuff with their girlfriends. You know, they have to always have like good manners and stuff like that. I'll put up with crass humor and being verbally abused a little bit. I'm not like the other girls. You want to invite someone out to pub night, watch a little bit of the footy and complain about your partners? I'm the girl you want to call. I'm not like other girls. Jesus tap dancing Christ. It was early and I was high when I wrote this comment. Cheers for the awards, lads. Holy cow. That's kind of an incredible post. People will really be like, I never tell a lie until they get asked, like, why didn't you do something you were supposed to do? And then what they should say if they're into radical honesty is, I didn't really make it a priority. I didn't really want to do it. Instead, they start spinning excuses. Oh, well, yesterday I did this instead, and I didn't. Honestly, I don't even think that we should have to do the dishes. I think we should just start eating off of disposable plates and cutlery all the time. I'm radical honesty, by the way. Radical honesty for you. Sweet little lies to protect the ego of mommy's special little boy for me. And that's actually the standards by which I want to live by. So I'm not judging too much lest I be judged. But at the same time, am I the asshole for tolerating a night out with my girlfriend? Oh, man. Men are crazy. Earlier this year, I gifted my girlfriend tickets to a concert she really wanted to go to that was this past Friday night. I'm not a fan of her music, nor the fact that this concert was in the city, but I wanted to make it a great gift. Welcome to being, not even an adult, welcome to being a person. You gave someone a gift even though you didn't want to go to the concert. Wow, okay. You want the key to the fucking city? What's the problem? So sometimes you're going to do shit. I did something selfless for another person, even though I didn't get that much enjoyment out of it. Just go to the concert and it's 90 minutes of listening to music. You'll survive. Once inside, she showed security our tickets and asked about the meet and greet. The bouncer informed us the VIP was at 6. I froze. Now my girlfriend turns to me asking if I received any kind of emails because the tickets were in my name. I told her I deleted the emails and she seemed to understand. I actually really enjoyed the whole time, so once her band set ended, we decided to not stay for the last band, and this is where the trouble began. Everything was completely fine until she suggested we leave early and then started laying into me for some reason. It's 10 p.m. We're outside of the venue. She suggests we go to a bar a block away and either walk or rideshare. Immediately, I said, not a chance. Immediately. She suggested we continue having a good time by having a drink or two. I said, no shot, says you. She mentioned that my car was in a secured lot and we wouldn't be far, but I lost my cool, which I admit was not the best way to go about things, and told her, you don't go out in the city. There is crime all over the place. She responded that we were in the city. I went off about how I can't stand it here. So she said that we'll just leave. No raising of her voice. She just said she was fine with leaving. She was silent on the way back, and I suggested we go back to my place to finish out the night. And she refused. This also pissed me off because I asked what was wrong with the bar next to my apartment, and she shut that down with her short responses. Overall, the night cost sanest boyfriend. Overall, the night cost me $300. And while she's saying more to me now as opposed to Friday night, she's still being very distant. She told me she could live with not going to the meet and greet, except for how things turned out afterwards, and that is when the disappointment truly set in. My response was that I was only bringing her to the concert, nowhere else, and thinking of her safety. She continued that I shouldn't have bought the tickets if I was only tolerating doing so. What city do you live in? Is it under siege by zombies right now? Gotham? Okay, in Gotham, then maybe he has a point of going back to the suburb. Or if the concert was in Gastown in Vancouver, and she was like, hey, take me to this place looks nice. It's called the Cobalt Hotel. Then, no. Then hey, we got to get back to Port Coquitlam, okay? There's an Earl's 2 blocks away from my apartment. We'll go to Earl's. We can get a $17 Moscow Mule there, okay? I do accept I've made some mistakes, chiefly with us missing the meet and greet. The timing of the concert should have made this an unforgettable experience as her grandma just died in my ass. Oh, man. Directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Yeah, you're the asshole. Also, it honestly, you sound like, you wrote the post. And it sounds like your girlfriend is a saint. Because, you messed up and caused her to miss the meet and greet for the dumbest reason of all time, that you were deleting a bunch of emails from the concert venue. You have a 16 megabyte storage cap on your Gmail account or something like that. She still seemed okay with that. She even suggested, hey, we're in the big city. Let's go out for a drink. World's dumbest man of all time said, no, it's not safe here. I'm not saying that crime doesn't exist in the city. Trust me, I live in a city where there is some. At the same time, you're rolling like a D1000. And 999 of the options are going to be okay. Maybe he's scared that the ghost of her grandma's going to haunt him. Well, he should be. Her grandma should be haunting him. He's not taking her granddaughter's well-being that seriously. Also, I hate to fabricate subtext where it may not exist, but the last paragraph of this, last 2 paragraphs, it basically seems like he's like, I spent $300 on this and I didn't even get to have sexual intercourse with my girlfriend. That's what, when you're it's a weird line that says, I bought a gift for someone, and then at the end of the line, you resentfully say, the night cost me over $300. It seems like it's kind of just a creepy way to frame the whole thing. Also, I feel like if you had just gone out for a drink in the city and then taken an Uber home and gotten out of your own way, you might not have had to write the post to begin with. It seems like she honestly forgave you for missing the meet and greet, even though it was completely your fault and she was still trying to have a good evening. And then when she suggested it, you were like, absolutely not, under no circumstance, no discussion. And she was like, why is my boyfriend 17 years old and so stubborn? Why is he so juvenile, right? Stop feeding the trolls. It's a fake post. I don't know, man. Maybe not. And finally, you misrepresented the whole thing is now about you not being sufficiently enthusiastic about the band. Info. Was it Imagine Dragons? Because if so, not the asshole. If it was another band, almost anybody, even if it was Broke Inside, you should just tolerate it. If it was Imagine Dragons, I can understand your hesitancy. If it's Hatsune Miku, listen, that's why I feel like I'm so able to comment on stuff like this. I took my wife to a Hatsune Miku concert. It was a 3-hour drive and an international border away. We had to get a hotel room, and I was surrounded by other Hatsune Miku fans the whole time I was at the arena. I hate this. I'm not insulting Miku. She put on a great performance despite having a sore throat, okay? But it was the most impolite series of patrons I've ever seen at a concert in my life. The merch line was longer than the amount of people that were actually going to see the concert. And people were like constantly trying to cut in line. They were cutting in line, but they weren't even being subtle about it. They were going like, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Dude, just push in front of these people. And then when they would like push in front, we'd just be like, oh, we're standing here. And they'd go, and then they just walk behind us. Like it was really, the concert itself was great. Everything, the atmosphere surrounding the concert gave me a very bad vibe. It did not pass the vibe check, okay? I'm not trying to go in that hard, but you know, Josh, it was like, you know how at PAX, there'll be people who have like their camping backpack that is like bigger than Norman Reedus's backpack in Death Stranding, and they walk like this, and then without even checking, they're like doing a shoulder check, they just see something and they go, whoa, like what is that? Far Cry 6 trailer I've seen 70 times. Hey, where do you guys, and they're like hitting people in the face with their backpack. That was not every patron at the Hatsune Miku concert, okay? But it was more than the average concert. That's all I'm gonna say. What songs did they sing? She did the one that goes like, beep papa beep papa beep beep papa boop papa beep papa beep papa beep papa boop. You know that one? Certified banger. That's a classic. You know the one where she starts going off like Twista in slow jams? That one? Yes, it's on my sex playlist. Is that why the housing market's so fucked? U.S. government's paying farmers to plant corn. The farmers are passing it on to their 17 kids to juice their down payments. Is that why shit's so damn expensive? Not to mention they're buying mortgage-backed securities in March 2021 with the housing markets up 40% annually year over year and rates are at 25 basis points and the Fed is still buying mortgage-backed securities in March 2021 to prop up a market that's overheated. What are you doing, man? Sorry, did my vein pop out? Little lion sus for you. And the banks. Have you considered wearing a heart rate monitor when you do this? Okay, hold on. I'm going to be honest with you, okay? Let's check. Can I get a stopwatch? I'm going to do a stopwatch on my phone for 15 seconds, okay? And then I'm going to do a multiply by 4. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? 3, 2, 1, start. Okay, I had 16 beats. Times 4. 60. Wrestling heart rate 64? When I was amped up? I'm feeling like Pierce Brosnan from Die Another Day. Holy cow, dude, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Because that's the way the heart works, right? It's like you only get a certain number of beats like for your life. Like how your Logitech mouse only is good for like 10 million clicks or something like that. So if you lower your resting heart rate, you've extended the life span of your planned obsolescence. Full dick pissing. I don't know why I thought that would be funny. You know, like in Full Metal Alchemist, when the guy goes, Full Metal Alchemist. It is a squeak spit. You're not wrong. Full dick pissing. No, it doesn't work. I'm more of like a Roddy. Jennifer, come on down. The Dr. Calvin, come on down. That's a horrible Roddy impression. How about this one? Ready? A new car! And you're gonna need this box of tissues for when you get a cold and flu season from driving to a COVID-19 hotspot in your new car! They never just go like, get ready to win a car. He always constructs like some artifice of story about, and you can put those golf clubs on your shoulder and then take them off of your shoulder when you open up your trunk and put them in your new car. Me watching The Price is Right. Up first, an Astralux jukebox made of the finest carved mahogany with a 64 CD changer. Astralux, the premier name in jukeboxes. And now that you've got a jukebox, you're going to need a home bar setup consisting of carved rich mahogany and 4 three-legged bar stools from IKEA, the preeminent name in home furnishings. And after you're listening to songs on your jukebox and drinking at your home bar, make sure that you don't get behind the wheel of your new car. Hold on. My reaction when Roddy introduces the first prize on The Price is Right. Pause, champ. My reaction when Roddy introduces the second prize, and it's a dining table set, and I think that that's good enough, so they're not going to give me a third prize. That's Sag. Then my reaction when he spins me a story about how I will love to sit down on those bar stools after I get out of my new car. Bad chest. A base model Chevy Malibu rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, California emissions tested Chevy Malibu, an $11,311 value. A 2-door Chevy Malibu with manual windows and a tape deck. Thanks, CBS. If you win a car on The Price is Right, do you have to pay tax on the cash value of the car? I know you have to pay, like if you win the lottery or something, you got to pay. You have to pay tax on the cash value? Fuck that, dude. You can keep the car. Just pay for my lunch. I was on Let's Make a Deal. I was the only member of the COVID limited audience not called up. That's a huge slap in the damn face. They should have at least let you pick one of the doors. Is Let's Make a Deal the one is hosted by Wayne Brady now? I bet that's a fun taping. Couple of game shows, couple of activities, Wayne Brady working the crowd. I bet it's not a bad way to spend an afternoon. Many people are saying, hey, NL, please, for the love of God, don't do just building quizzes. We're sick of seeing you just be bad at naming buildings. You're calling every thin building the W building. Can I tell you, by the way, this is genuinely true. You know how we did, you may not remember. You know how we did that Vancouver quiz of buildings, and there was a really thin building, I called it the W building, and it turned out it was called Hotel Europe. You wouldn't believe it. This weekend, Cate and I ended up in Gastown, against my will, I might add, but we ate at a restaurant that was inside of the Hotel Europe. The whole time I was there, I was like, oh my God, we're in a historical landmark right now that I didn't even know existed. We ate at a Korean restaurant with an amazing lunch special. I give it a thumbs up. I don't remember the name. She picked it. Was I worried about our car? Well, I was parked in Gastown. Yes, I was. But when I tasted the food, I was like, never mind, this goes hard. And our car was fine. Our car was completely fine. Anyway, it looks like a scuffed Flatiron building. Yes, that's correct. This is not even close. Listen, the first time and maybe the only time in my life I've ever diverged with the critics, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory 2005. Saw it in theaters, had like a 71 on Rotten Tomatoes. I was, I guess, 17 years old when I saw it. Whole time I was in this, I was like, Tim Burton has to be stopped. I've seen this, I've seen the Willy Wonka, the Gene Wilder one 100 times. Love it. Read the books, read the Great Glass Elevator where they go to outer space and almost get killed by the vermicious canids. This was the first time in my life where I said, somebody's got to get in the editing room and tell Tim Burton no. Somebody's got to stop this guy before he makes like an Alice in Wonderland remake or something like that that's 3.5 hours long and everybody falls asleep halfway through. Okay, so it's obviously Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon, or Age of Extinction. Okay, Revenge of the Fallen is one of the only one of two movies, maybe three movies I've ever walked out of in my entire life. So it can't be that. That's the one where Sam Witwicky's mom eats a pot brownie and the colors around her start to melt and stuff like that. Shit is just insulting. It's a film that insults your intelligence. But sequels do tend to get worse over time. But there's no way that they could be worse than Revenge of the Fallen. I don't know. I haven't seen any of them past Revenge of the Fallen. I'm going to assume that it's like the first movie is considered decent, and then the second movie is a all-time low, and then the third movie brings it back to like a 4 out of 10, and the rest slowly crater down to the level of Revenge of the Fallen. So I'm going to say it's Dark of the Moon. That's just awareness of society. Divergent. Is that why Kate Winslet disappeared for a while? She was in the Divergent films? Really? She was the big baddie in Divergent? She's got to fire her agent, man. Anyway, this has got to be Cinderella, right? People hate Divergent. The Divergent series Insurgent. Oh no, Kate Winslet. What are you doing? Anyway, Bandits. One of my greatest disappointments as a 13-year-old. Cate Blanchett, Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton. This it's stacked, man. How could it go wrong? Bought that shit on DVD, sight unseen, with my allowance money. Came home and it's like a 5 out of 10. It's not horrible, but it's not good. I'd probably give it a pass over Divergent at least. But Quills or The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, don't get me started on The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I know we had the conversation like a month ago about how I can't take this movie seriously because the fundamental premise is simply so unbelievable, I'm unable to suspend my disbelief for the remainder of the 3-hour runtime of the film. Also, when Cate Blanchett kisses Benjamin Button goodbye because he's regressed to the point where he's like a 7-year-old kid, they've been married for like 60 years, it's not that it creeps me out, I just find it too absurd and humorous to take it seriously, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I hate this movie. After bringing it up to chat, my mom came like a month ago, and she wouldn't stop talking about Benjamin Button. She's like, "Have you seen The Curious Case of Benjamin Button?" And I had to tell her that I told her the same thing I told you. I said I can't take this movie seriously. I hate it. I find its fundamental premise absurd and insulting to begin with. And she was like, "Well, I liked it." So now this is like the third time I've been talking about Benjamin Button. So the movie's so damn long, the protagonist gets younger, everyone else leaves, and they're like 10 years older. That being said, I do think it was liked by general audiences, so I'm going for it. Okay, The Adjustment Bureau versus Contagion. Horrendous film. Good movie. What? No, I'm sorry. Can I get a fact check on that? How is it possible that Contagion has a lower score than The Adjustment Bureau? Contagion is 6.8. The Adjustment Bureau is 7. Isn't The Adjustment Bureau a movie where like weird shit happens and then at the end a door opens up and they're like it was angels the whole time? Or it was aliens that are trying to like maintain the balance of morality on Earth or something like that? Is detritus. Contagion is a good movie. Contagion, I think Contagion might have been review bombed by anti-vaxxers. Maybe you're gonna copium me for that, but Contagion it's a good movie. Says you. Contagion went from being a cautionary tale about what the world could be like if a pandemic happened to an uplifting tale of what could be possible if we as a society in 2022 put our differences aside and banded together in support of the common good. It's evolved as society's evolved. I can't believe I lost on Contagion versus The Adjustment Bureau. I simply don't believe it. I feel robbed. The Adjustment Bureau of all movies? How's your pulse? Okay, hold on. It's actually lower than it was during React Court. So I'm going to take a lark on a movie I've never heard of. The Adjustment Bureau or My Blueberry Nights? Well, apparently people love The Adjustment Bureau. I didn't realize. Hey, Reddit r/movies. Why does nobody talk about The Adjustment Bureau? I understand the twist at the end was not to everybody's liking, but up until then, I think it's one of the most underrated sci-fi films of the early 2010s, starring Matt Damon. Oh, everyone loves The Adjustment Bureau. People go crazy for The Adjustment Bureau. NL, everyone I've ever talked to loves that movie. So I can do it. Superhero movies. I can do this. Hulk or the Incredible Hulk? It's the Incredible Hulk. Fantastic Four or Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Listen, Fantastic Four is absolutely god awful. I think Dawn of Justice is easier to make fun of, but I gotta walk myself through this one. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, the first Fantastic Four is really bad, but it's like kind of watchable. Batman versus Superman has some acolytes, but is really easy to make fun of, and I know because I've done it myself. I actually am gonna say that but people go, they like, nobody's like, hey, Zack Snyder Army, we need you on IMDb right now. Guys, people are review bombing Fantastic Four 2005. Hey, everybody with the Michael Chiklis in the Thing avatar, can you go give it a 10 real quick? Whereas I feel like this definitely it betrayed some people, but some people are also like, this is the craziest movie I've ever seen. I loved it. So I'm going to go Batman versus Superman. Ooh. New Mutants, Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, or Catwoman. Okay, these are two of the worst movies ever made. This is merely very hated, right? Nope. This is not possible. If you have a list, if you have a selection of 3 movies, and one of the options is Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and the question is which one is the best, it cannot be Fantastic Four. By necessity, it cannot be Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, because it's at least the second worst movie ever made. Let's reason it out, okay? This is Hospital. This is the English. I'm not typing right. The English Patient. Whoa! Mars Hospital. This is Dances with Wolves. This is called Rock. This movie is called Cold Mountain. This is Caddyshack. Rock. Pride Rock. Rock, I don't know this one. I don't know it. This is, okay, I saw in chat. This one's Rain Man. This one I have no idea. Bumblebee. Did Bumblebee with John Cena win Best Picture? And this, I don't know, someone said Brokeback Mountain. That seems like it's probably Brokeback Mountain. That's Rocky? That's fucking Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle, man. You didn't type anything? Yeah, because I know that B-Movie and Bumblebee didn't win Best Picture. They're garbage. The Sting, of course. Celebrities as animals drawn by AI. This is not an animal. This is just John F. Kennedy. This is Marilyn Monroe as a clownfish? As a platypus, okay? It's Vincent Van Gogh as a shrimp. Dude, the top right picture is so good. This is Martin Luther King Jr. as algae, as an amoeba, okay? It's Bill Gates as octopus. I see I mean, it's got to be Stalin as a capybara. The human brain is amazing. This is Oprah as a turtle. I got 100% on the quiz. Crazy. Oh, man. What else you got for me? Celebrities as painted by AI artists. I can do this. This is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in a film noir. Sorry, Dwayne Johnson. This is Will Smith in a Salvador Dali painting. I'm insane. This is Lionel Messi as a European Roman fresco. This is Donald Trump as painted by Vincent Van Gogh. This is Tom Cruise as done by a boardwalk caricature artist. That's Picasso. My mistake. This is a stained glass window of Nicolas Cage. Also, is this available to purchase? Any of them, really? This is Hillary Clinton from My Nightmares. This is my sleep paralysis dreaming Demon. This is Serena Williams as painted by Vermeer. This is Elon Musk in his own head. Also, is it Elon Musk? Because bottom right is definitely Saul from Better Call Saul. This is Kim Kardashian as painted by Edvard Munch. This is Jennifer Aniston as painted by Da Vinci. Jan van Eyck. I'm crazy, man. I'm out of control. AI generated images of 1980s classic movies. Is RoboCop, dude. Dude, and can I say, RoboCop is serving. Holy cow. That's not RoboCop. Okay, never mind. Is this Red Sonja? Ghost in the Shell? Oh, you're right. It's Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. Dude, I gotta say, the aesthetic goes freaking hard here. This is the Terminator. If the Terminator was literally played by David Cronenberg. This shit is David Caruso from CSI Miami. Can't you see David Caruso putting sunglasses on to cover up his cybernetic eye? This shit goes hard as hell, man. The top left image goes insane. This is RoboCop. Now, images that do not go hard, bottom left does not go hard at all. This looks like a JPEG that would cost you $15,000 18 months ago. Dune. Blade Runner. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That movie would go insane. Harrison Ford running away from a knife in the desert. This is AI James Bond movies. Okay, this is Moonraker. I'm going to pass. This is Gold. The Man with the Golden Gun. The second image goes insane. The Earth is not, the world is not enough. So the AI interprets that as you needing many worlds instead of, this is why the AI is not quite there yet, man. You tell a computer the world is not enough. They don't hear like there's no price I'm willing to accept. Instead, they go, here's some more worlds for you. Seems like, how about 2 worlds? This is Goldfinger. Heart and soul. It's got a lot of heart and soul. I don't know the rest of the words, but it's got a pretty good bass line, heart and soul. My wife is streaming Mahjong Monday's Pog. I'll send you right over to her stream. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday night. I'll see you tomorrow for Dome Keeper. A scrammy.